And Tim, as we look at where they sit at the moment, the chat over the last, it feels like it's gone on for months, is that nothing really changes at Manchester United. But actually, since Amorim took over, has the change been that United have actually got worse?
Yeah. I'm shocked how poor he's been since he's gone to Man United. I think we're right to give him time. I think he talks well in the media, which is going to allow him to have more time. Unlike Ten Hag, he's got a personality, this guy, and the media like him, so he's going to give you more time. Win the press conference rather than the football match. You can't carry on like this. You need to win football matches. You're manager of Manchester United. It's all right looking to the transfer market and say, well, they don't fit into the way I want to play. I mean, you just got to make it fit. They got to make it work. He has to improve the individuals there. I don't see it at the moment. I don't see many patterns. I talked him up. I see the Sporting Lisbon side. They play with a real identity of how they wanted to play. I haven't seen that at Man United, and it's like I'm fed up of listening to people.
Can you do that in 10 games, though? Give a team an identity again?
No, but you would at least see something at least. I don't see anything at the moment. All I see him is just counter-attacking sides, using a little bit of pace. I don't see him controlling games or anything, and I don't see him conceding so many goals from set pieces as well.
Why are they so vulnerable from set pieces?
Well, there's a lack of organisation. Players need to look at themselves. Of course they do. I mean, they conceded one like that against. They conceded one like that against Tottenham. A different goalkeeper, albeit, but they need to do better. Put someone on the post, possibly. They got ripped apart by Wolves. Wolves are struggling to win and beat anyone at the moment. They picked up since a new manager's gone in there, but he's got to do better. It's Manchester United. I thought what they've done, just down tools and said, go on and have the rest of the season just to get us an identity, and then next year we'll come out and
they'll end up in a relegation fight if that's the attitude.
Absolutely. Why? I can't understand why they threw away the Carabao Cup. They go away at Tottenham, play a reserve team, and they absolutely threw it away. If you're trying to get some confidence into him, why don't you play half a decent side, win that game, go to the semi-final, two-legged semi-final against Liverpool, where Tottenham finally are going to play. If you win that trophy, it gives you breathing space, and people say, well, at least he's picked up a trophy. Show us something. At the moment, he's showing us nothing. What he's showing us is a great lad, good identity in his press conferences, but I need to be seeing more than that.
And Clinton, what he's going to see more of is how they nervously defend corners. I mean, they conceded 9, joint most with Wolves, who are improving, of course, at the moment, but for a team like Manchester United, a new manager coming in, you cannot have figures like that.
You've got to defend better than that. And Nana has to be stronger. That first goal, Nana's coming for the ball, coming strong. You get one of your defenders to get the striker off you. Get the striker off you so you can have that freedom to come and get the ball. And, they've been poor, Man United, nowhere near good enough. We knew it was going to take time, but it's Man United Football Club. You can't Tim's right, you can't go through the rest of the season. They're 14th. You're talking... you're making a joke about the relegation, and I don't think Man United...
It wasn't a joke, Clinton.
I'll be honest with you.
I was being serious.
You don't win football matches, you're low on confidence. You lose your captain now, Bruno Fernandes, who's been sent off. So let me tell you something. They're struggling at the moment. There's no confidence in that team. It has to be better, though. And that starts with the manager. Listen, I think the manager's a good appointment, and I do think he'll turn it around. But this is still one of the biggest football teams in the world, Man United, and they should be doing better than they're doing at the moment.
And Clinton's right, Dawes, to say it starts with Amorim, but it also starts on the pitch with figures like your captain, Bruno Fernandes, sent off in that last game. He's been sent off 3 times in his last 19 appearances for Manchester United. The last player to do that, Nemanja Vidic in 08-09. When you're looking for leaders on the pitch, you simply cannot afford for your captain to be getting sent off that many times in the season. He's not, for me at the moment, acting like a captain, is he?
Well, it's petulance. That's what it is. It's ridiculous what he's doing. Your captain is your leader and lead by example and do the right things. And the 2 fouls that he give away, they're nothing. All right, the first one, he thinks he's taking one for the team when Cunha goes past and he's at the defence. All right, I'll bring him down, I'll take one for the team. I mean, the second one, it's at the other end of the football field. He doesn't need to make the tackle, and you just leave your team out there on its own that's struggling. I mean, this group of players, I mean, it's remarkable to see where they are, 14th in the league. And do I put them up near Liverpool? No, I don't. But they should be nowhere near where they are in this Premier League. And the goals are given away, I'm sorry. To score 2 goals, Spurs, Son got 1 and Cunha. If I saw that on Sunday League under-10s football, I used to do that when I could kick it further than anyone else. Honestly, a goal scored like that twice in the space of, handful of games, it's remarkable. Get your your defenders, get the opposition out of the way, and you keep a come and clatter everything. I'm sorry, that's what it's coming to, because it's coming embarrassing.
Yeah.
You're giving goals away like that. Look, we can all make mistakes.
And Dino, in terms of the sending off, you can't have any complaints, can you?
Nah, two simple cautions. The first one, as Dove said, he hasn't got to do because Maguire's right in front of him, and the second one was just stupid because it's the other end of the pitch, so there's no need to do both cautions.
He knows he's getting sent off.
Yeah.
He knows when he makes their second one, he's getting shot. It could almost be a straight red. I mean, straight-legged him. It's petulance. There's no force. That's why it's not a red. It's a second yellow. He knows he's getting sent off. He must have plans over Christmas. I mean,
New Year, Tim.
there's no other. He knows that's a booking. And once he's on a yellow card, he knows when he makes a second foul, he knows. I mean, this kid's too good for him, Cunha, because he should be playing. I mean, look, this is ridiculous. He knows as soon as he makes that tackle, the referee has no option but to send him off. Be interesting to see where he is now. It's OK, Amorim making a stand on Marcus Rashford all the time, saying you've got someone out there who's wearing the armband and he's performing like that. That's not good enough.
It's the worst start by a United manager. He's lost 5 of his first 10 since Walter Crickmell in 1932, Darren. But he was club secretary, standing up to the plate. So very, very different era. But just finally, tomorrow night, Monday Night Football, when you're in this kind of run, confidence is this low. You've got your captain doing that. Based on their form at the moment, Newcastle, the last team you want to be meeting.
Yeah, called two different teams at different ends of the spectrum. Newcastle flying at the minute, Manchester United are not. You don't know what you're going to get from Manchester United week to week. But at some point, again, for them, it has to change. But I almost feel a little bit for Amorim because he's come in, everyone knows the system he wants to play. He hasn't got the players that want to play that system. But if he was to then change, everyone goes, look, he's weak. He's like the last few Manchester United.
Yeah, but why ain't he got the players to play that system?
Because they've been used to playing 4-3-3 for so long.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. They're footballers who cost 50, 100, 70 million pound players. They are versatile. You can change. You're a professional footballer. You're not a professional footballer who plays in League Two and you go back to front, up to the big man, flick it on. They should be versatile. They should be flexible. They should be able to play. It's not going to happen straight away, but they should be able to. When you recruit players at a Premier League side, you don't recruit just to play this certain way, because your manager might change, and all of a sudden you need to tweak it and you need to adjust. At the moment, he's not giving them the information to be able to adjust.
I agree with that, but the only thing I'd say is that comes down to the players. Because someone like Ahmad, who's not a right wing back, but when he was put there going, do you know what, I'm going to get myself in this team and stay in the team. So I put that work ethic in, and he's been fantastic for them. When the likes of Garnacho, he's been put in a position, he's almost like, I don't want to play this position.
And let's talk about United. Were you wrong about Ten Hag, Mark?
No, I wasn't. I think he's pretty much part of the reason why they're in this mess they're in, because the transfer windows that he kind of oversaw, starting from the first one when he wasted 2 months trying to get Frenkie de Jong when everyone at the club knew it wasn't going to happen, and they left it so late because Ten Hag was convinced it would, and from that point on it's been a stream of bad signings which has left Ruben Amorim with a squad that, let's be honest, is probably... I mean, if you close the club down today and says come back in the summer, I reckon 2 or 3 players are good enough to be part of Man United's future, but you can't get rid of them all at once. So this is pretty much down to Ten Hag and the players that he brought in, because so many of those players is not good enough for Man United or a top 10 Premier League club, never mind a top 4 one.
Ten Hag is working with exactly the same... Sorry, Amorim is working with the same players that Ten Hag is, and he can't get a tune out of them. Yet we seem to give Amorim a pass and not Ten Hag.
Who says we're giving Amorim a pass?
Well,
Mark might be.
Oggy blabbering on there about recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, Ten Hag made a lot of mistakes. He wasn't a particularly good coach, or so it seemed in the last couple of seasons, and he had to go. But Amorim has done nothing to suggest that he's going to be a top-class manager for Manchester United at the moment. He's come in and he says, I'm going to play 3-4-3, but sometimes you have to come in and say, well, actually, it doesn't suit the players that I've got, so I can't keep losing games and say, well, this is my system, the players have got to adapt to it. You can't go, and he said it in the press, it's going to take a long, long time.
Yeah.
You know, what manager can go into any football club, particularly a big club like Manchester United, and say, well, this is going to take loads of time. Yes, it might take a lot of time to get what you want, but in the meantime, you have to try and get results and have to get performances out of the players you've got. Manchester United want to be at the very top. At the moment, he's got to get them winning 2/3 of their games, and he's not going to do that at the moment because he's not set up his team well enough, and the players he's got aren't good enough. It's a problem for him.
So, surely if you see it and everyone else sees it, why doesn't he see it and address it?
Well, the trouble is he's trying to do so many different things. He's changed the players so many times, so nobody really feels as though they're the player for that position. I think Dallow's probably the only one that keeps playing week in, week out on the left-hand side. Mazraoui plays quite regularly. But I look at the other players, he's changed those, brings Højlund in, he then puts Zirkzee in, he's played Fernandes in most of the games, and he's let him down on too many occasions. at the moment, he's trying too many things. We've said it about other managers at Chelsea when they were forced to because they had too many players.
Yes.
You know, not getting the right selection and keep changing it. Well, he's changing it with players that aren't good enough at the moment.
Yeah, and surely you've just got to work with the instruments you have. Like, look, Pereira's coming at Wolves, and they were in a much worse state than Manchester United, infighting, players beating each other up, and yet he comes in, they win 2 on the bounce. Surely you're in a situation, Mark, if you're Manchester United and you're Amorim, you're like, right, this is the system that I want to play at some stage, but for now, I just need to, as Robbo says, get results.
Yeah, I can see that, but, you know, the system that he wants to play is one that's worked from the past, and he has come in, and it's a case of, are you going to be pragmatic and play a system that suits the players? Well, what system suits that group of players? Because the one that were playing with Ten Hag didn't suit them either. They thought at the back they weren't playing very well either. They were conceding too many goals. So maybe the players just simply aren't good enough. You know, if Rasmus Højlund or Joshua Zirkzee played for Everton or Fulham, nobody would be saying, no, these players are going to make it in a big team. That they're just that's the level they are. So Amorim's problem is that he's come in there, he's let himself down in the set pieces. I don't think he's kind of paid due respect to the English game in the sense that it's based on a lot of set pieces, and the defending at corners has been absolutely abysmal, and he's not worked hard enough for that. He's been caught out there. But then, you know, he said he's had 4 days in the training ground. Well, that is English football. That is the Premier League. So I think he's come in there a little bit naive. I think he's been used to 2.5 years of ultra success at Sporting Lisbon, but I think he's going to have to kind of check his prospects a little bit and think, no, how can I make this happen quicker than I'm doing at the moment? And he's creating problems for himself. You know, the Marcus Rashford situation is an obvious case in point because he came out of that game against Man City in a position of strength. He dropped Rashford, they won the game, great. But then he's left him out for the last 3 games, which they've lost. So now it looks like he might bring Rashford back to get him some goals. That's an admission of defeat. If he doesn't bring Rashford back, it's just going to linger on and on and on. It's a festering sore. What happens there? They've got to get rid of him. His market value diminishes. So it's created a problem there. But it comes down to the players. I was speaking to, I won't give names, but a player that played in one of Fergie's best teams in the 90s was saying to me that he's been speaking to his, you know, fellow ex-teammates, and they're saying this is the worst United team they've ever seen. And it probably is. You know, this is the worst United squad in Premier League history, and it's probably the worst squad for 50 years because even in the 80s when they weren't winning things, they had Brian Robson and people like Mark Hughes who are great players. This squad has got nobody like that. It's a really bad squad, and it's an indictment of the recruitment of the last 10 years because there's so many players there that have been through 4 or 5 different managers who should have gone on the first manager who are still there now. And Amorim's got to unpick the mess. All he needs is the certainty that Ineos, if they can run the team better than they're running the club right now, will back him in the market and let him get people out and get people in.
That's the big problem, getting people out, though, because you take a look at just some of these players and what contracts they're on. Marcus Rashford's on 300 grand until 2028. No one in the world of football is going anywhere near that mark if they're going to sign Rashford. Casemiro till 2026, 250 grand a week. You look at Mason Mount. Mason Mount's on 200 grand a week and he's there till 2028. Zirkzee, who no one else wanted, but for some reason still you give him a contract till 2029. This is really horrible reading if you're an account for Manchester United, because as you, in theory, you're like, right, this is the worst squad that we've ever seen Manchester United have. But the problem is you have to get rid of some players, and how do you sell any of them?
Well, I mean, they spent £200 million almost this summer on players that nobody else wanted. I mean, the recruitment team did what. The recruitment team were not that bothered about Matthijs de Ligt, but Erik ten Hag wanted him, so they signed de Ligt on the basis that the manager wanted him. They already had loads of centre-halves, but they've got a guy who's no much, you know, is the same as Harry Maguire, basically, without a knowledge of English football. So how do you get rid of these players? Well, Arsenal, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, they made a big decision to cut their losses on Mesut Ozil and Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang and others, and it cost them a lot of money back then. But if you look now, 3 or 4 years later, that money was well spent. It was the best decision then and now to get these high earners, underperformers off the wage bill. The problem at United, they've got a lot more than Arsenal had.
Yeah.
So you're right. I mean, where do they find clubs to take these players? Bruno Fernandes you can add to that list as well because, you know, he's a player that signed a big new contract in the summer when nobody else wanted him. They've made so many terrible decisions and they've been left with an absolute mess. And it's going to take a lot of money, which they clearly don't have if they're stopping paying money to player foundations and charities. That, you know, where's the money going to come from? Nobody knows. So they're in a massive problem right now. They need the coach to, you know, almost like turn water into wine a little bit, but it's not happening, is it? Because these players aren't good enough.
Tough. That's your job.
Yeah,
that's your job.
absolutely right.
That's what you're getting paid
but also,
the money for.
the thing you have to think, those players, if they're on that sort of money, they're not going to want to go either. You know, they're going to dig their heels in and say, well, you know, this is what you paid me, you know, and you haven't played me enough or I haven't fulfilled my potential, but I might do, so I'm going to just stay here.
So what do you do, Robbo? This is the hand you're dealt if you're Ruben Amorim. You know you're stuck with these players for a long time. How do you deal with this situation? How do you try and get a tune out of this?
When you come to a new club, you have to try and get the best out of the players that are playing well, and you have to, the ones that were disheartened under the previous manager, you have to try and get them on board as well. And probably for the first 2 weeks, they went, oh yeah, this bloke.
Yeah, Rashford was on Instagram saying great training today.
If I was Diallo, who was the best player against Man City, and then I'm substitute for the next game, you think, well, what's the manager doing? What, you know, I've just won the game against Man City. I've been outstanding, and now you put me on the bench for the next game. There's players that were playing well, reasonably well under Ten Hag, that are playing worse under Amorim. And the players that weren't playing at all under Ten Hag haven't come in and suddenly started playing out their skins. So it's a massive. I don't think he's done his job particularly well so far. I still think that it doesn't matter if you've got a formation that you play week in, week out, and you know the system and it's been successful for you before. When you come into a new club, you might have to just tweak it a bit to get the best out of the players that you've got.
Oggy, will they do any business in January?
Well, they'll try to, and they really need to. A lot of it depends on Marcus Rashford. I think people like, Rashford, if they can find something to take him, whether it's on loan or a permanent deal, they'll do that. I think Anthony's another one that they will get off the books. Casemiro maybe. So they've got 4 or 5 players who could go, and if that happens, they can bring some money in or take the pressure off the wage bill. They might have to do some loans to get people in, but they really need to do something, and Amorim needs to do something. I think the club realise that if they go through January and don't do any business, they're creating a problem for the guy that they've spent a lot of money on to get into the club. So they'll get somebody in, but it depends on who they can get out. And I think they will be quite busy this month, though. I think in January, I think they will do some deals because they have to. They have to make some tough decisions and get players out. And there will be a market for some of those players.
There won't be a market for any of those players on those wages, Mark.
No, there will, because Anthony's not on a massive salary. So they might be able to find somebody to take Anthony on loan. I'm talking about this is scraping the barrel a little bit. But I think Rashford. I think they'll find somebody to take Rashford. I think Saudi Arabia may be the destination, but I think Casemiro as well. They will be able to find. I know for the last 12 months they've been speaking to clubs in Saudi Arabia, or the people that control the clubs in Saudi Arabia, to drum up interest. So Turkey's a market as well they might use to get players off the books. It's going to be messy, but they will get players out. But it's how they can get people in and where they can do some good deals getting people in. But it's going to be an horrible window for Man United, this, because they're going to get some deals done that they don't want to do, but they can't wait to the summer. They have to get some deals done now.
Going back to Amorim, when he was interviewed for the job, do you think he said to the board and the directors, I can get a tune out of these players? If he just said, well, you're rubbish players and I can't do any better than the previous manager, they wouldn't have taken him on. He must have said, you can get more out of him and you can get more out of him. I quite like him, and and if he plays in that position on my system, we can do that. But it hasn't happened for him. Nope. Now he's got a problem because he can't now say anything different. Now he's going, well, it's a long job and the players aren't good enough. Did he say that when he took the job? Probably not.
Oh, definitely not.
No.
Manchester United centre-back Harry Maguire has explained that Ruben Amorim's adaptation was always going to be tough because of the dramatically different style of play which he is trying to introduce. Amorim was appointed as Erik ten Hag's permanent successor at the start of November. The former Sporting CP head coach didn't take charge of his first competitive fixture until the end of the move after seeing out his notice in Lisbon. In this window of many matches and few training sessions, the 39-year-old has deployed a new formation and defensive approach. Across his opening 10 matches at the helm, Amorim has suffered a record-breaking 5 defeats, the worst start of any United boss since the Second World War. Maguire has watched this bleak sequence of results from the bench and the heart of defence, including the current run of 3 consecutive losses, and puts it down to such a severe change in style. The thing is with the managers and the styles, it is not like they have come in and they have similar styles, Maguire told Sky Sports when comparing Amorim to Ten Hag, who did not operate with a back 3 or try and press as high up the pitch. They are the total opposite in terms of what they want and what they demand. So the transition period is going to be tough. We all have great belief in the manager and all his coaching staff. I am sure things are going to turn around. He knows exactly what he needs to do to get this club back. He has come in and done everything he needs to do. He is really demanding. After Amorim's Manchester United debut, an underwhelming 1-1 draw with freshly promoted Ipswich Town, the Portuguese boss claimed that his players were thinking too much. That tentative display, which has been fostered by an information overload, has pervaded through Amorim's brief, and thus far unsuccessful, reign. Despite offering an explanation, Maguire was not providing any excuses. "We are just doing everything we can to climb the table," the centre-back said. "We can't really set a target at the moment because we are nowhere near good enough and nowhere near where we want to be in the league table. It is really disappointing what we have done until now. Everybody knows that. We know it is not good enough for this club.